Well, it's time to move from one part of Mumbai to another. We'd leave Sobo aside, South Bombay, where all the action is taking place, and head to the outskirts, shall we say, to Navi Mumbai, where Rohit Sharma just finished cutting a birthday cake, and now he's all set to try and cut away some points from the rest of the table. Yep, Mumbai desperately need points. No better than to do it on the captain's birthday. They couldn't do it on Sachin's birthday. Let them do it on Rohit Sharma's birthday. Quick update on the toss. Rohit Sharma has won the toss on his birthday and he has decided to bowl first. Rajasthan have no complaints with that whatsoever. They've enjoyed setting totals and they've got another chance to do so here tonight at the D.Y. Patil Stadium. Here on Cricbuzz Live, as we jump from one match to another, we'll update you as to whether or not the heist from Gujarat is actually taking place. Let's look at Mumbai basically against themselves, as it's been all season, but in reality playing against Rajasthan. Lisa and Joy join me on Cricbuzz Live. And first and foremost, Joy, from all of us, of course, we wish Rohit Sharma a very happy birthday, but I'm not sure it'll be a happy birthday for him unless he can eke out those 2 points.
They need to win. I mean, the record, I think, is 9 matches lost is, I think, the record which the Pune Warriors have set, and they're at 8. And, I mean, nobody has lost that many to start with. I think they'll reckon that, they have a chance. And I think all the pre-match statements have been to that intent that, we're not going to even talk about, whether you want to win this match and all. All they're trying to take pressure off their players. We are here to play and enjoy ourselves and have a good time. And of course, since this tournament is played for millions and millions of mega dollars, I can quite understand that the players will have no pressure and have a good time. No, it's a tough ask. I think they're trying to relax their team as much as possible, but it's a really big one for them.
Yeah, we'll update you on the team news, but Lisa, it's got to be, the fans remain loyal. They've obviously got to stick with them. They've won titles in the past. And I think you've got to be philosophical as a fan and say, listen, we've had our moment in the sun. Let's stick with the boys when the chips are down.
Yeah, the problem is that you've got such passionate fans that live and breathe and die when it comes to IPL cricket, and obviously even when India are playing. So they feel every loss, every victory. They ride the emotion. You're right. The amount of titles that Mumbai have won, you kind of go, come on, guys, you can't always be at the top. And obviously we've spoken at length here on Cricbuzz Live about, the auction and what that did to upset that core group of players. There's a lot of emotion riding on this match. Obviously Mumbai trying to search for their first victory. But then on the flip side, Rajasthan, it's all about Shane Warne. As they kind of say, their first Royal. So there's going to be a lot of emotion for the team in pink as well. So whose emotions are going to be strong enough? I think it's going to be a good contest.
Yeah, well, for Mumbai, it's been the case of numbers changing very, very quickly. And I think these numbers that we put in front of you will tell a story by itself. It was almost an enigma. There was a time when win percentages were at an absolute high in terms of, look at that, 68.75. And I suspect if you go a few seasons further, when they continue to win titles, that number would be very high. 31.82. That's not what you want to see. And of those 15 losses, Joy, we know that 8 have come in a row.
Yeah, 8 have come in a row. And it's the way they've lost. See, what's happened is that because the tracks have been very good out here in this tournament, bowlers have become disproportionately important compared to any other tournament I've seen in the last 10 years. So what's happened is that their bowling attack, other than Bumrah, nobody has fired. The guys they thought would come and give them, wickets has not given them wickets. Bumrah's under pressure. Therefore, he feels necessity to bowl brave balls to try and get wickets. So he gets whacked around a bit also, which he's not used to because there's no pressure at the other end. And I think that is the single thing. The teams that are bowling well, the teams that have 5 solid bowlers are just winning more matches. That's one thing that we are seeing in this tournament. And that's something that Mumbai is finding difficult to solve. When they went for spinners, they had to pick up Ritik Shurikin. And I think he's done really well for himself. But the fact of the matter is that he's not a frontline Indian spinner. They do not have a frontline spinner at this point in time.
Well, let's have a look at what Mumbai have done to their team. We know they have changes. And the big talking point was, does Tim David finally come in? Simple answer, yes, he does. There he is. Tim David coming into that middle order. They will be chasing. And the other change that they brought in is Kumar Kartikeya Singh. That's what Rohit mentioned at the toss. So 2 changes there, trying to blood some of the youngsters. They still have their 4 overseas players. Riley Meredith retains his place, as does Karen Pollard in that middle order. Lisa, obviously, they're trying to look at maybe one new face, not making wholesale changes, and then reminding themselves this is why we got Tim David on board in the first place.
Yeah. When you pay that amount of money, you want to see them perform. I thought it was quite difficult for him anyway. He started off the tournament, 2 innings, and then has been sitting on the bench. So he's had a lot of time to think about it. I hope that he goes well, because he's an excitement machine. We've seen that across so many different competitions. But in India, it's a different beast, isn't it? I mean, the fact that he's been able to produce good runs in Pakistan as well, CPL, which sometimes are difficult grounds. Big Bash, look, the pace and bounce that we've been seeing here in Mumbai, and DY Patel, you'd like to think that he would feel comfortable, but it's just the level. It's another level up from all of those competitions, and no disrespect to any of them, but it is the best of the best here. So, things get found out pretty quickly. So, yeah.
Well, we've got some breaking news coming in as well, which maybe you could say was inevitable, but I'll hold that for a second. We'll just go in. Joy's reaction says it all. Figure out what could possibly have happened. All I can say, it involves Ravindra Jadeja, but hold that thought. Let's tell you about the teams who are playing out there. Navi Mumbai, Rajasthan against Mumbai. Mumbai with 2 changes. Rajasthan are unchanged. Maybe there's not much of a story in that. They've been playing good cricket. They're going to be setting a total. We were wondering whether Daryl Mitchell holds on to his spot. Yes, he does. Padikkal, Butler at the top have been making runs for fun. Let's not even talk about this. They just too settled a lineup. We will look at the points table very briefly, because people are screaming, what is this breaking news? Why aren't you telling us about it? We don't want to know about the points table. Just a quick look. All right, never mind the points table. This is how we roll right here. Joy, you had your first reaction. You had your hands in your air. I didn't see what Lisa was doing there. Ravindra Jadeja had the captaincy. He's handed it right back to MSD. What do you make of this?
I just think, to be honest with you, I think what would have happened is he would have just put up his hand and said, I don't want to captain. I've done it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to stand in the field for at least 6 more matches, standing in the middle of the field and making decisions. There's too much pressure on me. We are losing too many things. You've just put this on me. I put my hand up because I thought I could do it. I can't. I don't want to do it. So I think whatever we are hearing, I think the words are probably accurate, as in Jadeja hands over captaincy. I do not think he's being replaced. I do not think he'll ever be in a situation where Dhoni would have given him a chance and say, okay, no, you haven't done well enough, or CSK would have given him a chance and said, get it back. I think he's just thrown his hands up and said, I can't do this. And I think I'm good with that. That's an honest admission that, there's somebody better than me running this team. The franchise needs a more stable guy as captain at this point in time. Let me give it to the guy who's won 4 titles for us over so many years. Let me give it to one of the masters of this tournament. And he's done it. And I think in some ways, given that this season is almost lost, I think it's good for them. Because again, the Chennai fans have something to cheer about, something to look at. Say, okay, now our guy is back. What's going to happen? And let's.
Well, I can give you the official statement here, and we've talked about it a lot on Cricbuzz Live when it happened, not trying to cast aspersions on Ravindra Jadeja, but we were lamenting the fact that we lost Jadeja, the player, the guy who would make his runs and celebrate with his bat and the sword. It wasn't happening. And this is the official statement. Ravindra Jadeja has decided to relinquish captaincy to focus and concentrate more on his game, and has requested MS Dhoni to lead CSK. MS Dhoni in turn has accepted to lead CSK in the larger interest and to allow Jadeja to focus on his game. Official release from the Chennai Super Kings. Lisa, your take.
I think it's brave. You often see when leaders are given the job, they wanted it, yep, and there comes all the accolades when you become skipper. But when you're starting to find that you're in a hole and you don't want to dig it any deeper, it takes a brave cricketer, regardless of who you are, to put your hand up and say, look, I just don't think it's right for me. The only other player I can think in IPL, and Joy, maybe you can correct me, but Gautam Gambhir, when he went to Delhi, didn't he? He wasn't performing well, and then decided he even handed back his money, didn't he? And said. So, I mean, for players of that experience, of that ilk, to kind of recognise it, it takes a strong person to be able to do that. I think it's the best decision. You're right. We want to see the player back with everything that he brings to batting, bowling, and fielding. But you just felt for him when he was out there in the middle and things weren't going right. And sometimes management gets it wrong, and sometimes players think they could do the job and they realise it's a lot harder than what they initially thought. So credit goes to Ravindra Jadeja and also to the management team and Mahendra Singh Dhoni as well.
Yeah, and it's something I think in the greater interest of the game. You could be a supporter of the franchise. You could be a neutral. It's breaking news. We've reacted to it right here on Cricbuzz Live. Captaincy for the Chennai Super Kings for at least the rest of the season for sure goes back to Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Can we see Ravindra Jadeja, the player, back again in full glory? Well, so much is happening. We've got toss news, team news from the match that's about to happen. We've had the CSK news, and also, yes, the heist has happened. On Cricbuzz Combox, we were trying to decide who could possibly be the one who will dig a tunnel and come in there. We said, could it be Miller? Could it be Tewatia? Well, they decided they'll do it together. Sometimes you do it in partnerships. And David Miller and Rahul Tewatia have together taken another one, another heist, Joy, just when it was looking like it was kind of going away from them. Not the best start in the first 10 overs. They've won it again.
They're an amazing side. They're just an amazing side. They continue to do it. I just, my only wish for them, and I just love watching them play because they're such exciting cricketers and they're finishers. And the game is never over. At 12, 13, 14, the game is never over. My only wish is I just hope they don't use up all this. They have some ammunition for the playoff games as well. Because they're playing such good cricket right now. And they're doing it with, again, you look back at the resources of the team and nobody would have looked at the batting of this team and said, oh, you know what, these guys are going to overpower people. Like, Punjab, everyone looked at their batting, or Lucknow, and they said, wow, they bat deep. But nobody looked at this batting order and said that, these guys are going to chase everything they get. But that's exactly what they've done. And it's absolutely amazing. I mean, just look at these. I mean, Miller, Tewatia, Manohar, Hardik Tewatia, Miller, Rashid, Tewatia, Miller, Tewatia more often than not. And when that money was paid for him and he was not getting to bowl that often, people were saying, why do you want him? He's okay. He's hit Sheldon Cottrell out of the IPL. What else has he done? And I think now he's finally showing us what else he can do.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing to note as well, if you look on the left-hand side of that column, was how many runs were required off those last 5 overs, 68, 52, 62, 61, 58. Now, opposition teams need to start looking at that thinking, we need to leave 70 in the bank to challenge this side. How are they going to do it? So there are going to be oppositions that kind of dissect that and go, okay, these guys are flying, but how do we get them really really uncomfortable? Because the norm now, Gujarat is being able to chase it down easily.
Yeah, it certainly is. We're going to have to find a new phrase, by the way, folks. Because of that one enigmatic moment when it happened, we said, okay, he did it a second time, so he did it Tewatia. Now, is that going to be the established phrase? Because he's going on doing it. Now, somebody else does it. We need to get our vocabulary, our dictionary updated right here on Cricbuzz Live, and we'll try and do that. But that's the news from the game. Gujarat have won another 2 points. Quick look at the points table before we try and juggle back to the match at hand here. It means that, yes, they have actually put a distance between themselves and the rest of the world. 16 points in 9 matches. They can put their feet up because very soon they'll be even assuring themselves 1 and 2, let alone a top 4 slot. And then they can start relaxing and planning for those playoffs. For Bangalore, well, 10 points. There's quite a bit of a way to go. And remember, they're the only team who have played 10 matches. We leave it at that for the moment and go back to Rajasthan, who are now setting a total. Once again, Josh Buttler back in familiar territory. And when I say familiar, one of the 3 grounds he scored 100 for fun at, Lisa. So he doesn't like Pune. He said, the Western Ghats, they're not for me. Let me come down to earth.
Yeah. He does like the Mumbai decks, doesn't he? I mean, look at what he's been able to produce especially against the Mumbai team as well. And you look at even there's always been a bogey side for Mumbai, and it's always been Rajasthan. You look at all those previous years, Mumbai go on to, make finals, or either win it. Whereas Rajasthan kind of were fighting their way through the ladder, trying to get up, and more often than not were down the bottom. But one thing you can be assured, when Rajasthan met Mumbai and Butler was at the hand, he was the one that was enjoying that attack and hitting them all over the place. So they've got a fair bit of work to ensure that they get their first victory. It's probably not the side that they want to come up against right now.
Yeah, I mean, whichever way you look at it, there's Butler who's sort of got all this against that, and you want to change that. But for Mumbai, is it, I mean, as Lisa said, is it really, you're saying, okay, maybe not Rajasthan? At the moment, they're at number 10. So are they looking at all 9 teams and saying, maybe not any of them?
Yeah, no, I don't think they're particularly worried about Rajasthan or any particular team. Because, they're just in such a hole. They're saying, if we play well, we can beat anybody. My only thing is that they're starting with their bowling, which is not their strongest. I mean, really, actually, if you ask me, given the kind of Mumbai side, unless there's a lot of dew, I'd say you're a decent batting unit. Go there, put 200 runs on the board. Your bowlers haven't been able to defend anything. That's really been the truth. Their bowlers are just not good enough to defend. And again, you've chopped and changed on your bowlers as well. So they've looked very average, except Bumrah. And even Bumrah hasn't looked at his best. So I would have said, go there, bat, put 190 on the board and see what you can do. But right now, they're expecting their bowlers to sort of start dictating the match, which I wish them the very best, because that's a pretty severe Rajasthan batting side.
Yeah, and Lisa, if we briefly saw the points table there, and while Gujarat have jumped up to 16, now it's a double header. Rajasthan are not too far behind. If they beat Mumbai, and it's not necessarily such a big if, it should go according to form, then they get to 14. So that gap that looked so big, a yawning gap, would only last 3.5 hours. So Rajasthan get to 14. Suddenly Gujarat is saying, okay, let's not be that comfortable anymore.
Yeah, the joys of this competition and the joys of double headers and the weekend coming around as well. So many matches jam-packed in such a short period of time. So there's a lot of movement that can happen over this weekend, and there could be a gulf of 2 teams kind of separating themselves and the others trying to fight it out. Whereas I think Joy mentioned in the pre-match that you'll start to see other teams cheering on oppositions coming up against Rajasthan and Gujarat as well, to make sure that they don't go ahead too far. Just bring them back to the rest of the pack, back to the peloton.
We've mentioned Gujarat up to 16. Rajasthan, Mumbai about to take center stage. What about Bangalore? At the very start of the day, we put up a little graphic about LL. Now, Joy, it's LLL. They need to just drive around with an L plate. I mean, it sounds harsh, but honestly, it's sorry about that. Honestly, it's second half blues continuing.
Their second half blues are continuing, but look, this is their best chance because they're still 5-5. Okay, they're still not, they're still 5-5. They're a decent side. They have bowling, they have batting. And here's what I feel. I genuinely feel that they're going to get better and better as time goes by, because 3 of their bowlers, Harshal Patel, Hasaranga, and Shahbaz Ahmed, are just going to prosper when the pitches are going to get lower and slower. So I think their next 4 games, every game they'll say, you know what, this surfaces are going to slow down. This is going to come to our advantage. The fast bowlers are not going to be that dominant. So I would say that, and just keep them on a match by match and hope that you can sneak in the top 4.
And the other thing as well is that Virat scored runs. So the amount of talking and energy and coaching staff trying to lift him and the rest of the group, now everyone can just relax a little bit and go, okay, status quo, he's scoring runs, let's just get going and let's look after ourselves and let's just focus on the victory. So I think there's some really good points that they can take out of the loss today.
Yep. Ignore everything that I said about the L plate, but yes, it's the positives they need to take out. They need to forget about definitely the double figure game, the one before that, but it'll hurt a little bit to know that one big box was ticked, and that's the Virat Kohli box. Decent amount of runs put on the board, wasn't the worst, and the first 10 overs of their bowling, they kept Gujarat in check, but it was a team who just don't lie down, and they didn't today. Just a few seconds left on the show for us to make our prediction for game number 2, and that is Rajasthan batting first. Every time they come out to bat, we're thinking, how close to 200? Which end of 200? Are we in that 200 territory, folks?
No, I'm going to allow Lisa to go first.
All right.
He wants to gauge what I'm going to say. I know you, Joy. I'm going to say 176.
Oh, 176. I think Mumbai, maybe they'll take that, saying we're happy to chase 177. Joy, you going up, down?
I'm going down. I've decided to take Lisa's position, 161.
161. Okay, so I'm the only one who can go higher. I will go for a
You
189.
can go lower if you want.
No,
You can go.
I'm going 189. Just maybe Hetmeyer as well to chip in. Not only thinking it as a butler party, somebody else can come. Somebody else can do the service.
189. Viv Richards at Old Trafford.
189. Viv Richards at Old Trafford. Why not? Let's get into that. See, he's already in retro reels mode. This is what Joy does. You just give him half a chance, and he's in retro reels
Finds
mode.
a way, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. In case some of you don't know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't seen them yet, what are you doing? What rock are you living under? Get on Cricbuzz Plus. Get on to retro reels. Joy will always not be that generous and give it to you live. He won't give all his cards away. You need to get on there. You need to find out more about it. And of course, when he's not making retro reels, he's having a party on the weekend. It's called Match Party. Joy's there. Lots and lots of fun. It's a watch along, and you have to be on Cricbuzz Plus for that as well. So much extra that you can get once you're on there. As far as we here on Cricbuzz Live are concerned, we've made our predictions. We've looked ahead to this game. We've got a little more to look back at both the games. We'll do that at the end of the day. For now, that's what we have on the show, with a promise that we'll see you in about 10 overs time, 9 actually, on Cricbuzz Combox. Until then, that's all we have here.